All right, my couture crafters, let's get into this video. I finally figured out how to put full pictures in. Did you guys see that in the beginning? A full picture of what the card is going to look like. So, as usual, I pulled out my swatch cards. You guys, I'm so thankful that I made this. This just makes things so much easier for me. I would not know that I have different teals and greens and turquoises. I wouldn't know that. I do not remember all the colors that I have in my Altenew, Catherine Pooler, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm figuring it out. I'm using Sweet Dreams, shades of, no, the Spring Bouquet 2, and whatever the purple one was. Go back. So I grabbed a couple of sheets of paper. This is heavyweight cardstock and then 65-pound cardstock. The colorful paper is 65 pounds. The white and the gray are the 110-pound stacks that you can get from Michael's. This is my Altenew stamp set. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Altenew. And this particular set, after playing with it, I could have kept going. I could have made a million different cards a bunch of different ways. It's addicting. Do not be surprised if after I do my 10, I come back and do a few more with this stamp set. I doubt that I'm going to do that, but that's how much I really enjoyed playing with it. There are just so many different options and color combinations, and I suggest getting this set actually. And you know me, I like a long and skinny card, so I really like these cards. So this is my embossing, what was that? My embossing powder container, and so I was just kind of looking at it. All right, so we're starting with all sheets at 6.5, and I think 6.5 by 7. Everything is being cut at 6.5, but I alternate between 7 and 6. We will see why in just a moment. These cards are two different sizes. Again, this is 110-pound cardstock, and I'm using my Fiskars trimmer here. You guys always say, hey, do a list of everything that you're using. There's no way in the world. That's a full-time job and I already have one. I just can't. I can't do it. But if there's something specific that I'm using that I didn't tell you what it was, please ask me, because I will take the time to tell you. But I tried to list everything and link it and try to get the little commission off of it. You guys, that's a full-time job and I just can't hang right now. So I am using my EK Tools scoreboard here. The ones that are trimmed at 6.5 by 6, I'm scoring at 3. The ones that are 6.5 by 7, I'm scoring at 3.5. I'm just scoring it right down the middle. I love scoring these cards. They just, it just makes folding it easier. I have slowed down the video so that we can look at the insert that comes with an Altenew stamp set. It gives you some inspiration. It tells you what colors they used to stamp it. It tells you how to use the stamps on the back, like which stamp goes down first and what happens if you add this stamp to the other stamp. Look at that. I love this, guys. I love Altenew so much. Them, Catherine Pooler, Tim Holtz, like those are the people who I really go to as far as my stamps. There are definitely others like Tailored Expressions and Honeybee, and I like stamps, obviously, but you guys, Altenew obviously is my jam. If you go through my videos, you see that I use them a ton. All right, so I'm grabbing one of the panels. I am not 100% sure. This must be the 3-inch. So this is a 3 by 6.5 panel, I believe. And I'm grabbing a color from the set. Now, you guys, I showed you which color sets that I'm using, but I don't remember which one out of it that I'm using. I used probably the lighter pink or the medium pink. I don't know. Who cares? Do what you feel. This is kind of about just doing what you want. Watching a technique, seeing if you like a stamp set, hanging out with me while I'm chatting about, God knows what. So that particular stamp is one that stamps the full tree without the heart. And this heart here is the full heart in one color. They have a way that you can stamp that tree in two sections or just one. Look at that. Me using pink. Ugh. I asked you guys what color combos to use. If I had seen another pink or teal or purple, I was just going to vomit. Just kidding. Well, not about the pink. You guys know I'm not a fan of pink, but I got a ton of requests to do pink, teal, and purple, so that's what you guys are getting. Here, I'm using one of the sentiments. There is a defect in this stamp. It doesn't really bother me. I don't know that I want to call the company and ask them to send me a new one, but in the open, there, can you see? I'm looking at it like, what's going on? How come I'm not getting a good impression? Like I'm using a Misty. What's happening? In the open, in the end, it doesn't stamp the full letter. And also, when I stamp the hearts, the word hearts, there is an indentation in that stamp. Now, that's the first time that has ever happened with any of my Altenew stamps. Usually they stamp like a dream. I can get them to work. But for whatever reason, there's just a few little defects on this particular stamp set. I'm sure the other ones are fine. It didn't stop me from using it. I'll tell you that much. And I'm not giving it back. If they say, send us that one back, no thank you. I'll keep it. I really like this stamp set, guys. I like the long and sleek look of these cards. I like it. That's all I can say. So now I'm doing one with the sentiment at the bottom. And I am using Altenew inks. Although just a moment ago, that black that you saw me use was a VersaFine Clear. I like to stamp my bold sentiments if I want it super black with that ink. So, season greetings. And this time I'm using the two-step tree. So this will stamp out some of the leaves. Let's see what we got. Am I still using pink? Oh no, I've moved on to the purples, I think. Yes, purple. Let's see if this is pretty. I'm so excited. I think this was one of my, oh, I'm double stamping it in the same place because that's the lovely thing about a Misty. Hey, you can stamp it twice in the same spot if you don't get a good impression. And now I'm lining it up. Nice and easy. Now we're going to grab the different color of purple from that same set. And let's see what that looks like. Ooh, look at that. I am tickled by this stamp set. I don't know why. I mean, it's a Christmas tree. It's called, I think, Festive Foliage. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And you guys, I'm cleaning these stamps off with a baby wipe in between. If they get too wet, I'll grab a microfiber towel that I have over there and wipe it off and then move on to the next thing. This is the full stamp. So the full heart, I should say. It's not the two-step heart. What? And she stamped the heart in teal? Ugh, love this. I don't know why. I just do. Now I'm playing on the Stormy colored cardstock. And I know that I didn't pull this ink out initially in front, but it's sitting right there in front of me. I don't know why these grays are right there. So I figured I would do a tone on tone with this particular card. I don't know why. No rhyme or reason. I didn't go into this with a plan. I very seldom do. I just started playing. I knew that I needed to pop out another video, and I knew that I wanted to use this stamp set. And so I asked you guys what colors because I have color commitment phobia. For somebody who likes to play with color, I am often indecisive about what colors to use. Sometimes I just need some inspiration. So I'm using the two-step heart here. So you see how there's just a few of the hearts not fully filled in. And so I did that twice. And I'm doing the turquoise. So I guess I went from tone on tone to a pop of color. Fine by me. Learning to line these up. I really should have played with these prior. This is the very first time I'm using this stamp set. I have not played with it before, but I seem to get a pretty good lineup. And now I have a blue heart in the middle of this gray tree. Guys, this just tickles me. I can think of so many things. I could take that sentiment, stamp it on a sheet of paper and cut it out and put it across the top. I can cut out a bow, put it on top of the tree. I can put a star up there. I can do this in a million different color combinations. I didn't even play with the tree in green. And I think I stamped that season greetings in that darker blue color on that gray cardstock. I like the way that blue showed up on the cardstock. Now let's play with the colors that I pulled that coordinate with the stamp colors. These are just Michael's papers that I happen to have. That first panel, I think I cut that down to 3 by 6, and I didn't love it. So then I think I went to like 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. I don't know if I'm going to use all these panels. I just knew that I wanted to have a little bit of coordinating cardstock to go with the stamp set, with the card set, I'm sorry. You guys know I'm doing a voiceover at like 2 o'clock in the morning again. Let's see if I fall asleep in the middle. I think I can make it through this one. We've done about 10 minutes. I think we've got about 10 more to go. This is that new dauber by scrapbook.com. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Instead of it having those flat edges, it's got a domed edge. And I was curious to see if it changed the way that that you blend. I am a fan of old school blending. You can really lay down quite a bit of a color. I like the brushes too, but I still like blending with a sponge. So I was curious to see if this felt different. The sponge actually does feel different than the other sponges that we're used to. It worked. It got the color on there. It's pretty smooth for the most part. Of course, I'm using my hand sanitizer to clean off my Tim Holtz mat there. And now I think I wanted to do another tone on tone kind of card panel. So I blended around the edges, trying to give it a kind of a halo, that glowy in the center kind of thing. I could have darkened the edges up some more, but I didn't. Whatever. This card is actually pretty cool close up. I really like the way that it came out. So I went ahead and stamped the darker teal on top of the teal. Or turquoise. I never know which one is which. And now we need to fill in the heart section. Season's greetings. I like that. Because I give away these cards and I never know who I'm giving them to and what they practice, I really do try not to do too many Merry Christmases if I can avoid it, sort of. Sort of. I celebrate Christmas, but I don't want to offend anybody though. So for these, I've kind of tried to stick to neutral greetings, but So now I'm hitting this with my heat gun because I've decided that I wanted to do some embossing. That's right, I wanted to emboss that heart in the center. So I hit it with the heat gun and then I tested it. You're going to get like a really clipped glimpse. Did you see it? I just poured a whole bunch of embossing powder to see if it would stick. It stuck a little bit. I heated it up and I used my embossing buddy pad that you see to the right of the screen. I took it out and I just rubbed it all over the front of that. And I felt like that was going to be good enough for me to get an impression without getting embossing powder everywhere. So I'm using Versa Mark. It's just a clear sticky ink to stamp that. You can't really see it right there. See, I tilted. You can kind of see it a little bit. And some scrap pink cardstock because pink cardstock is stupid. So I use it as scrap paper. Isn't that terrible? That's like 65-pound weight cardstock. Somebody wants that stuff. And I just use it as scraps because it's pink and I don't know why I bought it. So any powder that was left over, I just brush it away with a clean, dry brush. This is a Moon Glow powder. I think it's by Moon Glow. It might be by, I can't remember the name of the company. Who knows? But it's kind of an iridescent peacock color. Ooh, pretty and shimmery in person. That one came out pretty cool. Now I'm going to, am I stamping the tree? Yes, we're going to stamp the tree on the purple paper here. So for these next 3 cards that we're doing, this is the larger panel that I'm using, which is why I was able to cut out a panel at 3¼ All right, so we're kind of doing a tone on, we're doing a tone on tone with that purple. I don't know where we're going with it. I don't remember, so let's all find out together. Here is another piece of cardstock that I am folding over, which means I must be about to stamp directly onto the cardstock. Put the magnet down. And you guys see that on some of these cards, I'm placing the Christmas tree down closer to the bottom, some of it closer to the top. It's kind of depending upon where I want to put my sentiment. If I even wanted to do a sentiment, who says I have to have a sentiment on these? I could just stamp the tree. People get the idea. So I'm using the 2-step stamp set with this one. Oh, I'm getting sleepy, guys. I will not go to sleep during this video. I refuse to have you guys listening to me sleep on a voiceover. It looks like I'm using a second color to stamp the tree, and I did, and we've got some shades of pink here. It seems like these are a little bit darker than the very first ones that I did. Yuck, pink, grody. And I'm just rotating between the holidays are a time to open your and the season greeting sentiment. So it either says one or the other. All right. Now we're playing on the pink. I just grabbed a couple of the hearts and I'm putting them there. So you could, I didn't show this technique, but you can stamp that solid stamp heart behind the foliage one and get an even, even more depth and dimension and other options. It's crazy what you can do with this stamp set. So I'm stamping the pink and then I busted out that Gemini Junior and I am cutting it using the coordinating dies that I showed in the beginning of the video. And oh yeah, I remember this card. This card was pretty much a fail. I did some things that just weren't smart. So what I should have done was left it just like that with the hole and stamped through it. That's what I should have done. But no, I opened it. This was not smart. This is not smart. And I wanted it to be lighter on the inside. I wanted a second generation, and that's what saved this card. Otherwise, this card would truly be a hot mess because it stamped off. It was just totally not lined up. It just was not my best idea. And yes, I left it in here because sometimes you need to see the stupid stuff that I do. So this time I am stamping through it, I believe, because it really does fit right down in there. I took the scrap piece of paper and took off the first generation of stamping, and now you can kind of see that I'm getting a baby pink kind of tone back there. And then I just wanted to be able to stamp the sentiment right down in the center. And I like where we're going. Like, this is great in theory. I could definitely polish it up a bit, but it's kind of cool. You know me, I love a sentiment that's on the front and the back at the same time. Like, that's right up my alley. So for this card, I decided to cut out that tree. I ran that through my Gemini too. And I think I wanted to pop up the heart on top of the tree. So I'm using some art glitter glue to glue the tree directly onto the cardstock. And apparently I'm putting that sentiment at the top again. And then the other sentiment at the bottom that says hearts. So the holidays are a time to open our hearts. I use that black foam tape that I've been talking about. I like dimensional black foam. It's definitely more expensive, but it's just hidden better. Now I'm folding over all these cards that I've made. I should have made, I think I made 6. 3 and 3? Yes. Tell me which one is your favorite. So for this panel, I decided that I wanted it to have some dimension. So I put foam tape on the back of the entire panel. And then I pulled it off and then I lined it up and taped it on there. Be careful with that because you only get one chance to get it right because that stuff is sticky. So now those are the cards. Now we've got to do some envelopes. I separated 2 piles. I'm using 65-pound weight gray cardstock. I love that they did gray craft cardstock. I wish I had purchased more of that paper from Michael's. Oh, I love it. That gray craft cardstock is legit. So now I'm cutting down the colored paper and those gray craft cardstock sheets, which are all 65-pound weight, so that I can use it with my 1, 2, 3 punch because all cards must come with a matching envelope. Remember, some of the cards are 3.5 by 6.5, and some of the cards are 3 by 6.5. So that's 2 different size envelopes. I think I grabbed 3 sheets of paper and then 3 sheets of the gray craft. I mixed them up a little bit so that I get a variety, and I just make a bunch of envelopes. So I should probably do a tutorial. Like, I show this step all the time because I think this board is super important for card makers. People who want to be able to make boxes and little quick bows and things like that. I think that's a great tool, so I show it all the time, but maybe I actually need to do a tutorial on how to use it since I use it so much. So I thought I was going to get all fancy dancy on this envelope, but really I was like, not today. I do not have the time. I need to hurry up and finish this project. So for this particular envelope, I stamped the tree. I stamped it off because I always do things that are weird and I couldn't figure out really where to put the tree. Couldn't figure it out. So I just stamped it, halfway on, halfway off. Fine by me. Not an issue. but I just didn't have time to invest in all the envelopes the way I wanted to. So I figured bump that and I will just do the envelopes the regular way. Now, remember when you were doing these long and skinny narrow envelopes, sometimes you have to cut the tips off. So I was measuring for that. Now, this piece of cardstock is one of those open cardstocks that you get from Michael's or Joann's, and it's definitely stiffer. You can look on the back and see the skew, and it is definitely a like a maybe an 80-pound weight cardstock. So I showed you guys in the video before how to make a box. You increase the size that the 123 punch board tells you to cut it at by 1 inch larger. So if it says make a 6-inch square, you're going to make a 7-inch square. And you are going to make that first score line where they tell you to, and then move it over 1 inch and then score again. Check out my previous video. I go really slow and show you how to do this. And I show you how to notch the sides. So I'm cutting straight up and then a little angle, cutting straight up and an angle toward the card. Flip it all the way over, do the same thing, and now you have released these little tabbies to make your box. Once you know how to make a box, I swear you just want to make a box for everything. Now, in my mind, I wanted this box to open and close from the top the long way so that I could have stamped a Christmas tree on there, and I was all excited until I realized that was not going to work. I have figured out how to make it look better, but I don't know that I'll be using it because this box is really, it's just really made to open from the side. So you see me looking, trying to figure out what looks best. That looks best. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then the top, I'll just close that part. What I didn't think about is the top closing makes it look ugly on the back again. Such a fail. So again, when you're gluing up the box, I always tell people put whatever you're going to put on the inside so that it kind of holds the shape for you. I'm using art glitter glue, of course. Anytime you need to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. But be careful because your items are on the inside of that box and you do not want to mess up the items. I did the same thing I did on my previous video and just tied it up with a pretty color ribbon and the prettiest card on the front. That teal is gorgeous. And we're just going to sneak some glue underneath there and glue it down and slide it in the way that I wanted it to open. Watch when I close it. I'm like, oh, that is not cute. Look, closing it. Let me see. Can you see the look? I keep telling you to look, but I'm not showing it. Here it is. That's not cute. Look at how that ends. I'm like, oh no. So I tucked it in and it will open the traditional way and we will call it a day. I figured out how to make that look better, but a lot of work. Don't know if it's worth it. So I decided I wanted to play with the wax and the ribbon again. So you're paying attention to me tie this. I actually untied it and folded the ribbon down so that it gave me a surface to pour wax on, a smoother surface. Even though I didn't do the greatest pour on this, I set it up properly. Right there. See, I just folded it down and over, and I used those little dots, which are just little clear dots that you can place underneath there. Why didn't I let the wax cool? I am too anxious. I get so excited. This is my favorite part. So I'm just pouring the wax right there in the center of the ribbon, and I'm placing the seal there. And we are going to let the seal rest for just a few moments and let the wax cool down. When I tell you I hate that I didn't get a perfect impression here, it annoys me. Alright guys, if you have made it through this video, I appreciate you so much. And I will see you in the next one, which I promise will probably not be as long. Thanks again. Bye-bye.